Hola amigos, and welcome to a brand new season of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, kick-starting here in Barcelona, the corner of Spain known as Catalunya, at the circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, in fact, a place which is certainly no stranger to a lot of testing from all of the major motorsport teams around the world, but also this was a bit of a miss from last year's calendar on the Michelin Le Mans Cup. It was the round that actually was separate from the rest of the championship. Remember, these cars also race at Le Mans as part of the Road to Le Mans as well. So it's a welcome back after a year's absence to Spain. And the Michelin Le Mans Cup in rude health, a capacity grid stretching across two different categories, GT3 that we'll see in a moment, and LMP3, and a total of 42 cars to feast our eyes upon. It's Johnny Palmer and Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com. First of all, a very happy birthday, Graham, to you.
Shucks, yes.
Sorry to let that cat out of the bag.
It just slipped out, didn't it?
It did rather,
I know,
yes.
a very youthful 35. I'm not.
Again, folks. But what better way to spend a birthday than to be here?
Locked in a dark room with Johnny Palmer.
Exactly.
Absolutely fantastic.
Where there's no escape.
You know what? It is my other happy place other than at home with Trudy and Oscar.
Yeah.
But it's been an awesome week so far here in Barcelona. Weather has been perfect. Cool enough to be comfortable, but warm enough for everybody just to be wrapped up against the wind. But we've got just a glittering array of sports car action to come today. Already started with the Ligier Endurance Series in their first race, but about to get underway with this qualifying session. It is 12 GT3 cars, Johnny, for the opening round this season. 6 different makes, new cars, new drivers, new teams, all sorts of storylines to come in the next 15 minutes of track action, and followed, of course, by, same again, with an absolute mass of LMP3 cars. Great to see also, as we look at one of our returning teams, it is the Iron Lynx team, Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Vincent Abril. Vincent Abril, late addition to this team. The newest car here this weekend, delivered just this week to Racing Spirit of Le Mans. It's on Robin, and it's Valentin Hazaclo aboard the Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT3. And great to see an Aston Martin here. One of 3 Lamborghinis on the list, and 2 of them from Lippert Motorsports, Gabriele Rendoni and Patrick Kujala. And as you can see, lots of fans here too in the spring sunshine, and delighted to see so many of them, in particular the young families that have chosen to spend their Saturday with us here. And why wouldn't you? There's the other Lamborghini, 3 of them with the CrowdStrike livery. I think it's a Hawk. On the side, you'll see when it closes the door, but spectacular livery. From the top, we can see the Danish flag on top of 2. We had 3 last year, but 2 this year. GMB Motorsport Hondas, they'll also be in action later today in the European Le Mans Series for qualifying in the race tomorrow with their brand new Aston Martin. And they're quite possibly the most significant new cars on the grid. A brand new look and a brand new machine for Ferrari's custom racing efforts. This is the brand new Ferrari 296 GT3, and we have 2 of them. Bit of a drama, we'll explain later, for the second car, the 83 car. And at pits out, it's going to be Team Parker Racing. We had them for a somewhat staccato one-off at Portimao at the end of last year. That's another brand new car, Johnny. Of the 3 Porsches here, one of them is the new Type 992.
Yeah.
This is the other 296 GT3. It's a livery you'll sort of recognise when you see it from the side in mirror form, but it's the mirror livery to the 83 Oreca in the European Le Mans Series. Why? Because Charles-Henri Somani is the brother-in-law of Francois Perraudot, and he shares that car with the evergreen Manu Collard.
6 different manufacturers represented in GT3, and yes, we've had an awful lot of different GT3 cars when we get to the Road to Le Mans, but I wonder whether this is the biggest spread of different cars that we've ever had in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. As you say, 2 different vintages of Porsche, the 992, which is this car, One of the ways you can tell the difference, by the way, is the rear wing assembly. The rear wing struts are in front of the rear wing itself. Yeah. Swan neck suspension on the 992, whereas the struts kind of support it from the rear and underneath on the older car. You just got a glimpse there of the Caffeine 6 sponsored HCR, and you may recognise the name when we tell you that HCR stands for High Class Racing.
Absolutely.
So they have a strong connection actually with Barcelona and this part of the world. They're a Danish team. They do have headquarters back in Denmark, but is that particular car maybe based not too far away from here?
Literally across the road, between here and our favourite takeaway, our favourite Austrian theme but not Austrian at all takeaway here at Barcelona. But they are literally on the techno park, if you like, just the rear of the circuit, the east of the circuit.
They also have some connections with La Metla de Valles, which is just down the road from where we're staying this weekend. Oh. So as, by the way, does Belen Garcia, who is from that part of Barcelona. Belen competing in very much her home race this weekend. We'll chat a lot more about the former W Series runner, I'm sure, throughout the course of the day.
Yep, out come the cars, the two Team Parker Racing Porsches. And they are one of each, by the way. One, it's the light blue car. The second car, look at the shape of the headlamps on those cars. You'll see a rather more rectangular spread of the LEDs in the light blue car. That is the Type 992. The squarer LEDs is the older 991 GT3R. It's 991.2, I think, but we'll not get into too much detail. Audi R8 here from Stella Motorsport, reigning British GT4 champions. Stella, the Honda, the Lamborghini, the Ferrari, the Porsche, and it is a very worthwhile grid to grace the Michelin Le Mans Cup this year in GT3, as the world is going to open up in GT racing to GT3 from next season in the European Le Mans Series and the FI World Endurance Championship, with the final year looming now for the ELMS in GT3 spec. And we'll give it over to you now to call the action, Johnny.
Well, 15 minutes worth of qualifying for GT3, 15 minutes as well for the LMP3s, which is set to be an even busier session with a total of 30 cars at least entered for P3 across Duquesne and principally Ligier with their JS P320, both with the Nissan engines, but all sorts of different engine sizes, capacities, layout and sound, crucially, in this part of the entry. Let's concentrate for a moment on what a great year it was last year for GMB Motorsport. First, second and third in the team's championship. 55 car took the championship victory at the back end of 2022, and the 88 and the 44 cars finishing second and third. But it was Kasper Jensen and Christian Poulsen who were the GT3 Drivers' Championship. And once again in 2023, if anything, the bigger prize on offer is in this field, in the GT3s, because for winning as a team, that gives you an automatic invitation to the following year's Le Mans.
It did until this year.
Really?
So not this year. So this has been a change. This is because of the rampant popularity at the moment of the World Endurance Championship, is that they're trying to kind of keep that under control. So for this current year, and that has made a few changes. Actually, it's kept the grid pretty healthy. It surprised me. We did lose a couple of cars that were planning to come here because of that change, but it's gained a couple of others. So GMB Motorsport, let's wait and see what their plans might be coming into 2024 and beyond, with this Honda NSX link that they've got with JS Motorsports, who look after the Honda program in Europe, based in Milan, and they're again here in support of this effort. That is the 296 GT3 of AF Corse, one of two that we've got here in the fabulous livery. I mean, really it does make that thing pop. And as I say, the sister car, the Orica in the European Le Mans Series, is the direct reverse of that livery. So it's white based, the other one is black based. And waiting to see who's going to kind of pop up and take the advantage here. It is Thomas Anderson, top of the times at the moment with a 1:49.318. We should mention, by the way, as we look at the Aston Martin, the number 10 car of Racers of Spirit of Le Mans, the overall champions from last year, remember, but adding a GT3 effort alongside a completely re-liveried LMP3 you'll see in the next session. That we should add here, Johnny, that it is the beginning, of course, of a season that promises still those 6 races. We're waiting for the final details of what the calendar will present. As to, at the moment, the intention is that the missing round because of Imola being cancelled for reasons of the paddock work being overrunning, that we expect to see these cars out at Aragon, and we wait for details of race format and timing on that one. This is the other AF Corsa car, the all-Japanese squad that guested once a one-off last season.
Portimao.
Yep, and it is Hiroshi Koizumi, who we met briefly last night. Lovely gentleman indeed, with Kei Cossolino, the Japanese-Italian, and was delighted to meet him and his friend and colleague in that car yesterday evening. He's very welcome to a Michelin Le Mans Cup, a Ligier European Series and a European Le Mans Series that just seems to still attract an increasing number of people from around the world, Johnny.
Yeah. So if you're unfamiliar with the brand new GT3 Ferrari 296, it's got a 3-litre engine these days rather than the 488, which had a 3.9, and it's not a V8.
It's V6.
Which is a great move away from, you know, what we've got elsewhere in this field. All the Nissan power for the LMP3s, V8s, and there's a great deal of V8s in ELMS as well. So across GT3 in this field, we've got V8, we've got flat 6 from the 3 Porsches, we've got the Lambo with a V10, similar to the Audi, the 5.2 litre. This V6 in the Ferrari, also V6 power for the Honda NSXs from the returning champions GMB Motorsport. What variety! And it's Aston currently fastest, with the man from Le Mans, Arnold Robin, for Racing Spirit of Le Mans, as there Hiroshi Koizumi slotting into second position, second fastest so far with a 1:43.5, with the first of the two 296 Ferraris. Third fastest is the second of those cars, Charles-Henri Samani, in car number 83, third quickest.
Yeah, and as we traditionally see in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, with the gentleman drivers out for qualifying, the laps come down as they get more comfortable. Remember, the major change across all regulations in ACO competition this year is no tyre warmers. So they're coming out on cold rubber. You will see these cars going quicker and quicker and quicker. One other thing to point out about GT3 with the race car equivalent to some fabulous road cars is there are massive differences, as Johnny just pointed out, in terms of front engine, mid-engine, rear-engine cars, the variety of turbocharged, non-turbocharged, and all sorts of configurations of engine, all rear-wheel drive. And what that means is not necessarily the same power distribution as you'll get in the road car. The Honda, for instance, does not carry the hybrid system. Neither does the Ferrari that you'll get in the 296 for the road. And in terms of the Lamborghini and the Audi, most of those, not all of them, but most of those cars on the road, four-wheel drive. They're not in GT3 format. So that is, if you like, is part of the equalisation process for them. Frankly, doesn't get in the way of great competition in GT3. Fabulous vehicles. These effectively are the racing versions of the cars that if you or I or most people listening and watching did get the lottery numbers coming up, would be on a bit of a wish list, wouldn't they? Absolutely.
I mean, we talk about sports cars. Aside from prototypes, these are the street-going sports cars, but they have been tuned up to be real thoroughbreds and then equalise effectively through the system known as balance of performance to create brilliant racing. And this is the future of GT racing at the 24 Hours of Le Mans as well. So what a great way to get used to ACO rules racing and potentially take a similar car to the Endurance Classic every June.
Third place for this car. This is the Team Parker Racing number 64, the hands of Alex Martin. And that car going well. Arnold Robin, by the way, stretching his advantage at the moment. He's currently half a second up. So it is the Aston Martin from the first of the two Ferraris, the 51, from Team Parker Racing 64, then the second Ferrari, the first of the Lamborghinis, the 19 Lippert Motorsport, the hands of Gabriele Rindoni, GMB Motorsport with the very first of the Hondas, and then Nick Jones in the newer Porsche. So that is 1, 2, 3 as that change. That's Tim Kresick going to second place, a cracking run there with the HCR with Caffeine 6. I mean, more or less every variation of car we've got here in about the top 7 cars at the moment, a real mix-up in form, and does seem to indicate that the balance of performance here is pretty darn good.
Tim Kresick, by the way, formerly of the Porsche Challenge GB last year with Par Motorsport.
Yeah. And the Caymans?
In the Caymans, yep, absolutely right. And running the AM category there, sharing with Anders Fjordbach, who is a regular with High Class Racing, of course. So the HCR with Caffeine 6. As one of a couple of Ferraris whips back across the line, and Koizumi is still second fastest. Oh, no, that's 4th place for Alex Martin. So as described by Graham, Team Parker Racing's number 64, currently the second fastest of the 3 Porsches in the entry. Here's one of the slightly older 991 iteration Porsches then, with the 4-litre flat 6, powering its way out of turn 12. We're not using the chicane this year as part of this weekend. You'll remember that for last year's equivalent meeting, which was I think round 3 of the ELMS, Michelin Le Mans Cup didn't come here at all, but it splits opinion, that chicane. It provides a good overtaking opportunity, but it's a bit nudgy, and for these high-speed cars, getting them through, particularly early in the race, is rather tricky. There were far too many incidents there last year, so a much more flowing turns 13 and 14.
Yeah, the lap time of Arnaud Robert being reeled in, what was half a second, now quarter of a second to the good from the HCR with Caffeine 6 car of Tim Kresic. The number 86 Porsche we're looking at now, with less than a tenth back, is Hiroshi Koizumi in the 51 AF Corsa car. Hiroshi Hamaguchi makes it 2 Japanese drivers in the top 4 in the Iron Lynx Lamborghini. Experienced GT3 driver, Hamaguchi-san, and a man who took part in the first 2 years of this championship. The first year when it was GT3 only, and has competed in both McLaren and Lamborghini in the past, and here in the latest iteration of the fabulous Huracan.
Yeah, I certainly remember that name from a few years ago. FFF Racing Team by ACM he was part of in the very first year, actually, when it was known as the GT3 Le Mans Cup, prior to LMP3s being invited to the party. Very good first sector for Arnaud Robert, who already has pole position. We're also keeping a close eye on Tim Kresic and Alex Martin trying to improve as well. Hiroshi Koizumi improving on that lap, 142.7. He's got the gap down to just 76 thousandths of a second to Arnaud Robert, but Robert set to improve again if he can continue this pace that he's already set through sectors 2 and 3.
Yeah, Alex Martin makes it 2 Porsches on the second row at the moment, with an improved time, goes from 5th to 4th with his latest effort. That is a 143.350, just under 7 tenths off the current pole position time, but it's that pole position time at the moment looks like it might be improved here from an impressive run here from Arnaud Robert. He went to the top of the times early doors and hasn't really been nudged off it yet. There is every chance he might be before we get to the end of this session. 2 minutes to go. It is a further improvement though, and he stretches out that under a tenth to just under 2 tenths, but every chance still that there might just be a possibility of nudging him away from a pole position, which frankly, if he gets it, he's deserved it. Yeah. He's stretched the envelope. We've seen him bringing the times down and down and down, a bit of a breather on the previous lap and then gone again. Impressive stuff. And it's going to be a very much busier time, by the way, later this afternoon, not just with this dozen GT3 cars, but the absolute, and trouble there for the 86 car. Tim Kresic gets that car turned around. And that might just be.
Where is that though on the track, and is it going to affect?
It did affect, I'm afraid.
Because he's just gone quicker again.
No, it did affect him because he just came by him, and he's not going to be allowed to improve in that session with yellow flags. So that might be, and he was quicker.
He was through sector 1, but he will have had to back off and shown evidence that he backed off to respect the yellow flags at sector 2. Previous lap, by the way, or this current lap, in fact, for Alex Martin is going to be effectively deleted because he's been done for track limits. Yep. And the same goes for Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the Iron Lynx Lamborghini. Last lap not counted because he ran wide of those solid white lines.
Well, the key here is, can they get the Porsche moving? He does now, so anybody that's out on track and in sector 1 is still going to be okay, but there are no major improvements underway here. Certainly nobody that's looking to put this car under any kind of pressure for pole position. Whatever happens on this lap, it will not be allowed to be an improvement because there was a yellow flag zone in Sector 2. It was an improvement, but I don't think that time can stand, can it? You can't improve under yellows.
No. Well, it's interesting that he has actually managed to improve, but having passed the accident scene, if indeed you're sure it was the Aston sneaking by, then yes, that time will not be counted.
Although interestingly, he didn't improve in Sector 2, which was where the incident zone was.
Well, they'll look at the data. He certainly set the absolute best Sector 1 time, but that was fine because it was well before the spinning Porsche. Slight question marks about the middle sector, though, for Arnaud Robin, who still has not received the checkered flag, interestingly, so he'll go round again.
He's lifted off, though. He's off the pace now, not wholly lifted off. It's still going pretty quickly.
Another ping of track limit, sadly, for Alex Martin in the Team Parker Racing Porsche number 64, so it won't be an improvement on this lap either for Alex. But at the moment, looking like a second row of Porsches with HCR with Caffeine 6 on one side, Team Parker Racing on the other side. And then the third of those Porsches, which is the newest of the three, Nick Jones in the number 18 car, down in 10th position so far.
And remember, these are the bronze-ranked drivers in this session. There are some significantly better known names to come in this afternoon's race, including ex-Bentley boy Vincent Abril, including Kev's dad, Jan Magnussen. Will be aboard one of the two GMB Motorsport cars. We see the other car crossing the line now. Thomas Anderson will bring that car home in 8th position. Senan Fielding, the reigning British GT4 champion in the Audi. We've seen a flash of the Audi going by in the hands of James Wood, getting his head around the task to come here in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Lovely guy, the UK ambassador to the centenary edition of the Le Mans 24 Hours with Stellar Engineering. The young gentleman there on the left of the picture, that is Valentino Harzeclo, the Aston Martin factory driver. He will be utterly delighted with that performance. He's looking after the form and the progress of the Robin brothers, and both of them will be aboard the other Aston Martin, one of two fielded by TF Sports in the European Le Mans Series. A very busy weekend for him indeed. As I was saying, Johnny, that Aston Martin delivered here this week.
So Racing Spirit of Le Mans continue from last year and winning the LMP3 championship with their drivers at the time, Alex Matchell and Tom Dillman, with a pole position in a brand new class for them. Racing Spirit of Le Mans welcomed into the GT3 fold, and Arnaud Robin doing the business. 142.444, 0.3 of a second then back to Hiroshi Koizumi for AF Corsa. Tim Kresick for HCR with Caffeine 6, third fastest, ahead of the Team Parker Racing Alex Martin. He had a couple of track limit violations which maybe took better times away from him. Hiroshi Hamaguchi for Iron Lynx will start alongside Gabriele Ridoni for Leiper Motorsport. That's an all Lamborghini third row therefore. And Charles-Henri Samani to take a 10-second penalty during the race in the 83 AF Corsa Ferrari because of a yellow flag infringement earlier on in the weekend. He'll start ahead of the first of the Honda NSXs. Thomas Anderson for GMB Motorsport was 8th quickest.
Yep, that was an engaging 15 minutes, and looking down the order there, Johnny, Aston Martin, Ferrari, Porsche, and then the first of the Lamborghinis, the second of the Lamborghinis, the second Ferrari, the two Hondas, Porsche, Lamborghini, and then the Audi. It is a heck of a mix.
And certainly not indicative of race pace, because we are, the bronzes are continually improving through a relatively short session at just 15 minutes. There's plenty more to give. Even if you've qualified 11th or 12th, there's loads more to give from a race perspective. And strangely enough, the Audi that's looked pretty good at times this weekend, qualifying as the slowest, but that could well come good during the race, particularly with Senan Fielding, as you say, current GT4 British GT champion alongside.
Interesting team, that Stellar Engineering squad. We didn't see much of the Audi in that footage, but we'll take you through some of the storylines there. It's great to see them stepping up from GT4 to GT3 and stepping away from their heartland, which has been the British GT Championships, for their first international crack at this, but with quite some heritage on the management team there. We'll talk about that when we see the car, as I'm sure we will in the race later on. And
we'll move forward in a moment to another 15-minute session containing 30 LMP3 cars, 4 of which are Duquesne, the rest are Ligier, but...
So that's 30, not 13.
No,
30.
Yeah.
30 LMP3s.
On a 4.6 kilometre circuit. It's going to be busy in the race later today. A reminder, it takes place today at 5:30 local time, but we'll be on air 20 minutes before that for the full build-up, and it will be a 2-hour race. So an awful lot, or just shy of 2 hours, an hour and 50 to be exact, but that will run to probably an hour and 55 depending on where the checkered flag falls in relation to the leader. And a driver change must take place during that, at least one pit stop as well to a prescribed minimum drive time, minimum pit stop reference time, I should say.
165 seconds
Very
is
good.
the pit stop reference time.
Been studying your regulations.
Races. Absolutely. And you'll hear and experience with us as we start to do battle with the usual things at the start of every season, Johnny, which is new teams, returning teams, new colour schemes, teams with exactly the same looking car and the same drivers that have decided to change their number, drivers that have decided to change cars, drivers that have decided to change teams, teams that have decided to change teams, and every other combination of the above. What a great shot that is. That is absolutely fabulous. GT cars in the working lane, a train that goes on all the way to the Pyrenees almost for of LMP3 cars. Loads of good fun to come in what I know has been a fan favourite series over the years. Simplified from being what became notoriously tricky in terms of strategy when the second mandatory fuel stop was deleted. We're now at an hour and 50 minutes for these races rather than 2 hours to eliminate that need, with practice time being extended for the teams to compensate for the track time, but about to get very noisy indeed for the frankly thousands of people who have chosen to join us here at the circuit. That is the new livery of Racing Spirit of Le Mans, our reigning champions, and great to see Ralph Callagher's back in an international sports car. What a guy he's been. On the last times I saw Ralph in really competitive form, raced Ferrari GT cars, raced in the Toyota GT1 back in the day with Alan McNish. Got a piece of his car, it wasn't with him at the wheel, on my office wall. But great to see Ralphie here. Another second generation racer, Ralph Callagher's, by the way. His dad very much part of the scene back in the day. It's Belen Garcia's car.
Certainly her car, but it will be Mark Richards in the qualifying session. Again, this is a bronze-only quali, so every single car has to have at least one bronze driver, and conveniently in my entry list, they're all in the driver one column. So
excellent.
Just need to look on that left-hand side.
Like fold the page, almost.
Yeah, to prevent any further distraction. Looking at the 67 Hegerly by T2 racing car with Peter de Kurtens, who will be doing the qualifying. He's joined by Brent Verhalen of Belgium, who's, again, a silver driver, rising with great credit. And we'll see how he gets on first weekend of the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
If you're wondering how we get this shot, you might have noticed that Jack Manchester is back in the European Le Mans Series. Very tall boy, and he's carrying the camera for that. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been a while since I've stood next to Jack, but he is lofty.
Yes,
so,
he is.
Thank you very much, Jack, for inputting that. Yeah, carrying the camera, overseeing Barcelona circuit.
We'll have the drone back for future races, but for now, thank you very much indeed, Jack. MV2S, and what a great season they had. Dramas, of course, at the final race at Portimao with that horrific accident for Jerome de Sadelier. He's absolutely fine, he's here. But MV2S were a major part of the dramas, good and bad, in the season last year, back with two immaculately prepared cars. I can't wait for this to get rolling. There is the other MV2S car, both orange this time. One orange, one green last time, so that won't be in any way confusing. I'm sure we won't be commenting on that through this year. And we pull back to see 17 car Edex Sports. Of course, another team doing double duty here with the European Le Mans Series. It's Dino Lonardi and Patrice Lafargue, the father of the father and son Lafargues, Paul Lafargue in the LMP2 car. We'll see in qualifying for the European Le Mans Series later.
And just 30 seconds away now from the official start time to this session, but the first few minutes taken up by cars being released from pit road and having to do at least one out lap before pushing on to the quick stuff.
Yep, Iceland's heroes team tour, prepared still by High Class Racing from Denmark, but based of course here in Barcelona. Auden Gudmundsson returns, the gentleman driver, joined by the very Icelandic Colin Noble this year.
Yeah, so in terms of length of names, Colin is losing that battle.
Yeah, I mean heavily, it's got to be said.
I mean,
but Colin, remember,
some of the trailers in the paddock actually require the whole of the side, don't they, to contain, and then you've got just little Colin Noble, but he does his talking when he takes the car over.
And the next champion, of course,
Indeed.
of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Cool Racing's new livery there on display, the new silver, black and blue. Just see by the way, the works to your right-hand side here, and the new hospitality building's been built here at the circuit. And thanks for that, it means most of the paddock are a longer walk from the car park.
Oh well, keeps us fit, keeps us awake as well after long days here at the track. I know you've had plenty of those this week, but it's been brilliant to get into the race meeting properly from yesterday. 2 free practice sessions for these cars yesterday, each of 60 minutes duration.
Car Engineering, so much success in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and another team here to build experience ahead of another push. Just saw Klaus Abelin in the Fricadelli racing car, famous livery, and back again with us in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Delighted to see Klaus with Felipe Larza again. One of the Nielsen racing cars, new liveries for them this season. There's the 2 MV2S cars looking pretty much identical come towards us. T2 by Hegeli with the needle-nosed Duqueine. It's the way, if you're not looking for a way to differentiate between the Duqueine cars and the Ligers in this pack, the needle nose on the Duqueine, the flatter nose you can see there on the 2 Ligers coming into shot. The 39 Graf Racing car. Graf Racing going to Le Mans this year, courtesy of a win in the Asia Le Mans Series, and probably the longest established team still in sports car racing outside the factories. Under previous ownership, they go back to Group C days, Graf Racing at Le Mans, into the 80s.
Real shame we've not got a Graf car in the LMS this year, at least not as an official entry.
They are there, but they are preparing the Ultimates. So Graf Racing in the paddock, but not under their own brand. But as I say, we'll see them on track at Le Mans in both the Michelin Le Mans Cup and in the Great Race itself. Team Virage and EDEX Sport. We're bringing you news, by the way, about some dramas for Team Virage in the European Le Mans Series later, with a driver change after a nasty shunt yesterday evening for their LMP2 car.
Tony Wells then, champion a couple of years ago in the Le Mans Cup. You mentioned also DKR Engineering. They were actually team winners 4 years on the bounce, 2017 to 2020, and one of the real talents to come out of that era, particularly latterly, was Laurence Roux, who's now gold rated and racing in the ELMS
in LMP2 EDEX Sport. It's about time too. Laurence needed to get his act together. I've been telling you that for quite some time. Not enough effort, just the 4 titles. Always tricky for even a talented young driver to find that slot if you've not got the budget to bring, and very many of these professional drivers are relying on their talents to shine through. And delighted to see Laurence has been recognised by the EDEX Sport team there. Sporting director Nick Manassian knows a quick driver when he sees one, and as he's looking at Laurence, he's looking at one right now. These cars beginning, Johnny, to get up to pace. The times are going to come thick and fast. The improvements are going to come thick and fast. So if you're looking at this with 2 screens, the TV screen and the timing screen, as I know a lot of people watching into these sessions do, it's going to look a little bit like the stock exchange whenever we've had a budget in the UK lately. Only the difference being is, in fact, actually the numbers are going to be coming down, aren't they? Just exactly like we're used to.
Indeed, yeah, so it's almost exactly the same. The middle sector's looking a little quiet right now, but there is a good smattering of LMP3 traffic all the way around the rest of this pretty short circuit, 4.6 kilometres. Quickest so far, Fabian Michel, but only by virtue of the fact that he was one of the first cars out onto the track for CD Sport. Klaus Aberlan for Fricadelli Racing Team, that famous name from the Nürburgring Nordschleife, car 30 that he shares with Felipe Fernandez Larza. That's currently second fastest as we focus in on the 68 car, which is the M Racing entry. Very different colour scheme though.
It is, and that's backed for M Racing for the first time in a while. And M Racing is M for Muller, Ivan Muller. That's a bit like Bond, James Bond, isn't it? But touring car legend, of course, and ice racing too for the bearded Frenchman. And great to see them back in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Here comes the 29 car from MV2S. Matthias Lerton taking that car to the top of the times ahead of CD Sports' Fabian Michel. 29 from 2, then the second of the MV2S cars. They're running well in this early part of the session. Peter de Kurtens goes second in the 67 T2 by Hegeli. That's the, what do you call it, highlighter yellow and red Duquesne. This, by the way, is the other of the Nielsen cars, number 7 in the hands of Tony Wells. Again, with Colin Noble back in the day, a champion in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. And Tony beginning to get up to speed there. He'll know the way this game is played, which is deal yourself in at your own pace. Find the pace where the tyres and the track will give it to you, and then deliver. Make no mistakes.
Two new names at the top of the times. James Sweetnam, the United Arab Emirates based Brit, but he's running on the UAE driver's licence. That's the reason for the flag next to his name for Graf Racing. He was briefly quickest with a 1:37.6, but that's now been improved upon by Hugo Delacour of the M Racing fold. So car 68 to the top with not quite half of the session gone.
Yeah, lots of purple times and improved times coming on those timing screens. And there is a lot of action, a lot of improvements still to come here. 8.5 minutes to go. MV2S, M Racing, Graf Racing, Nielsen Racing, Tony Wells up to 4th. He dealt his cards well there. We've got a double yellow at turn 3 at the moment. That's for United Autosports number 22 car going around. That is Jerry Krautz. So trouble for Jerry. That means that lap times passing there might well be in a little bit of trouble. He's in a relatively safe place there, but we'll need to be careful.
Doesn't want to go into the gravel track.
He doesn't want to reverse back onto track either.
Well, precisely, but he didn't quite need to reverse that far, but didn't want to inch forward because he'd end up in the stones and potentially cause a red flag, and then wouldn't be allowed to continue in the session. So
James Sweatham goes to the top in the number 39 Graf Racing car. It's a 1:36.962. That time will not be affected by the woes for Jerry Kraut. Yellows appear to have gone away, so the American in the 22 car has managed to get away from the incident there. Julian Gerby, team principal, by the way, at Team Barrage Racing in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, is just popped up in second position, just a couple of tenths off.
Matthias Luton had a couple of goes at being at the sharp end in the MV2S racing car, the man from Hamburg, but stays now 4th. So Tony Wells has gone quicker for Nielsen, car number 7. Car 16, Julien Gerby, as Graham's just mentioned, second fastest, the car he shares with last year's Ligier European Series champion, Julien Omrion. They're having major car difficulties this week, particularly on the handover, and mainly to Julien, because he gets in and the car won't restart. So they've had nowhere near as much running through free practice as they would have wished. But James Sweatnam for Graf Racing, still fastest, car 39 with 6 3/4 minutes to go.
He's not going to improve on this time, but Julien Gerby might just, coming through sector 2. He is. It is an improved time from him. He's just a little down on the provisional pole time, but a good third sector could make this mighty, mighty close. He was 5 thousandths up on pole pace in the first sector, as you can see from the graphic there. 64 thousandths down after sector 2, but now comes herring down towards the line through this revived section, missing out that chicane we've been using previously. What can he do? And he goes to the top, and he goes to the top by 1.5 tenths. So a cracking third sector from Julien Gerby, Team Virage, after a tough afternoon yesterday in the European Le Mans Series bronze test. will be putting smiles back on their faces. It was a 1-2 earlier this morning, Johnny, for the team in the Ligier European Series, and drama and a red flag with another problem for one of the two United Autosports cars.
This is at Repsol Corner, and are we talking about the 22 car again? Yes, we are. Jerry Kraut losing it in the braking area for Repsol, which is turn 4, and because that he is the cause of the red flag, he will not be permitted to continue.
Correct.
The clock has stopped. 5 minutes 54 seconds still to go, but that's a very vulnerable place to be sitting. 68 car shown as stopped as well, but I think that's just because everyone's backing off the pace now.
It's because the timing uses a kind of predictive pace algorithm. So it'll catch
algorithm
up with itself.
for Al Kamel.
Absolutely. It'll catch up with itself very, very shortly. That will be particularly galling, by the way, to the car currently 7th fastest, which is Team Tour. Otto Gudmundsson was up on the pole time on that lap and looking to improve potentially quite dramatically. Currently just under 8/10 off, but he was, what is that, half a tenth up on the provisional pole pace and looking to make progress. That won't now happen. He'll get another crack at it. But just how will the tyres be, having had to run down pit lane and wait for the recovery of the number 22 car? Quite right, Jerry Kraut will be, I'm sure, absolutely fine. Did not make it as far as the tyre barrier by the look of things. So the car will be fine. There is some
damage on the rear right, though, so whether there's been an issue, well, we saw him spin earlier in the session, and I don't think he touched anything by that point.
It might just be over the curb or even bouncing
into
through
the gravel trap, that's loosened the bodywork, indeed. But I agree, having not hit anything solid in a relatively slow spin, Jerry Kraut should be okay.
That is Scott Andrews, who is Jerry's driver partner, Daniel Snyder to the right-hand side, who stepped out of the Michelin Le Mans Cup this year to step into the ELMS in LMP2. So we'll just pause the action for a moment whilst recovery is underway. Let's take you through what the times are, Johnny. You can see them there on screen. The number 16 car, 1:36.806, time just put in before the pause in action from Julien Gerby for Team Virage, the number 16 Ligier. Should say, by the way, the top 9 cars, all Ligiers in this order. James Swetnam in the Graf Racing 39, 10th and a half off that time. Hugo Delacour, almost half a second back for M Racing's 68 car. Nielsen Racing's Tony Wells, 6/10 off the provisional pole time, the number 7 car. MV2S, the first of their pair. They were riding high at the beginning of the session, dropping a little down the order now. The 29 car, Matthias Lerton. It is Shahan Haig Sarkisian in the CD Sport number 11 car. Next up, 7/10 back, 7.5, 7.75 tenths. It is Otto Gudmundsson, we described earlier, 7th quickest for Team Tour. Cool Racing in the first of their 2 cars. Adrian Schiller, long time member of the pack in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Schiller, 0.873 of a second off in the 87 car from Cool Racing. 9th quickest, the second of the Team Virage cars, the 59 in the hands of Oskar Bitar, still under a second off the pole time, and the first of the Duquesnes, DK Engineering's number 3, rounds out the top 10 in the hands of Alexander Bukantsov. He's a second and a quarter off at the moment Julien Gerby's pace. So quite some progress in pace through that, first 2/3 of the times, Johnny. But still some time for anybody with a car still underneath them and a set of tyres underneath them
that's the
to make a last gasp effort at this. And it'll be interesting to see just how many of these cars do go and have a crack at that.
You only get 3 sets of tyres for free practice, qualifying and the race. So we're talking about 12 individual tyres for the whole race meeting. And my fear now is that Jerry Kraut has got some very second-hand Michelins beneath his car. Possibly, I haven't quite seen in detail, but I wonder whether that rear right is still inflated.
Yeah.
Hopefully it is.
I wonder whether or not that might be cause and effect.
They've only got, it was a big lose.
It was, in an odd place.
You are slowing at Repsol Corner turn 4. You know, it's a fairly heavy braking area, but he lost control quite early on as soon as he hit the brake. So are we talking about, it being related to the earlier spin in the session, that maybe he's flat spotted a tyre and then it's gone bang into turn 4? Jerry will know the answer. You are allowed 2 additional tyres, known as jokers, but through the course of the season. So you have to use those very sparingly indeed.
Indeed.
It's no good using 2 jokers at the first meeting because you'll have nothing to lean on later on in the campaign.
Session will resume on a short call. That will be when that car is removed to a position of safety. I would not, as a petrol head, be doing my duty were I not to have pointed out that magnificent vehicle on the left-hand side. That is, of course, a Mercedes Benz Unimog, effectively a 4-wheeled high-speed tractor, beloved of all automotive enthusiasts.
Indeed.
And my passion for those things fueled by the traditional light blue Matchbox model of my youth. And I shall appreciate that was quite some time ago.
Plenty used at the Nürburgring as well as sort of intervention or towing vehicles, multi-purpose, universal vehicles. That's why the Unibit comes in, I guess.
Absolutely fabulous things they are. But the Barcelona crew, well versed in extraction here. Looks as if there is a problem here with that car. They're lifting it, not trying to pull it, which indicates that might have been something beyond the immediate control of Jerry Kraut that pitched him off into the gravel.
The hard stare of Terence Woodward at the wheel of the 360 racing car, because he's been his concentration has rather been broken, as with everybody else as well. Ran with 360 racing last year, finished 9th in the championship, having competed at all but one event. I beg pardon, he was at Portimao as well, but sadly they weren't able to get a race finish there. Yeah,
and 360 racing were looking to get into, as they were last year, the European Le Mans Series with 2-car entry. Sadly for them, not for us, the LMS once again oversubscribed, but they brought 2 cars here for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. We're delighted to have them. Managed as always by Mark Owen. No, not that one, as he happily would point out to you. Apparently I hear by the people nearest and dearest to him. Neither his singing nor pretty dramatically his dancing skills up to the Take That namesake.
But they're back for good in the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
They are back for good, without a doubt.
Right, rear right looks to have air in it, actually.
I wonder whether or not the brake seized on that car.
Perhaps. There was something...
Whether or not something fouled, there was some damage there. I mean, all sorts of things could have happened. I'm sure we'll hear from United Autosport later. Good chance to have a long, lingering look at the 68 car from M Racing. Riding high here. Now, there's just been an adjustment. James Swetnam's just been given a lap back and has gone to the top. So Graf Racing, I think on review,
yes,
probably a track limits has been, or is it Team 5? No, a lap has been given back, I'm sure of it. So Julien Gerby, his lap time stays as it was, but James Swetnam goes to the top. So it's Graf Racing now top the time. So just an exchange between the top 2. It's a heavy workload for race control with a track as busy as this. As you see beyond the main grandstand here on the main straights at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. Green area around here. Beautiful part of the world, and from where we're staying, Johnny, about 15-20 minutes north of here.
Yes.
The view into the valley is absolutely stunning.
Yes, it really is, around La Metla de Valles, as mentioned. But this part of Barcelona, known as Montmelo, and of course, formerly, before this track was built in the 90s, a wonderful Grand Prix venue, almost, well, basically around the streets here in Barcelona, which became part of the Olympic Park a few years ago. You can still trace some of that track. But we'll get some reaction to Jerry Kraut's spin, catch up with Scott Andrews, his teammate now, with Steph Wentworth.
I'm with the second driver of the United Autosport car. This is Scott Andrews. Scott, how difficult do you think it's going to be to be coming back from a position further back on the grid?
Yeah, definitely got my work cut out for me now. Yeah, a bit unfortunate what happened there. Looks like just locked the brakes. Probably had a little bit dirty tyres from the off track earlier. But yeah, I mean, we've done it before in 2021 when we won from the back. So, you know, United Autosports have given us a fantastic car. You know, we've shown in practice how fast it is. And yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy, but yeah, I'm going to give it my best shot. And, you know, Jerry's been doing great. You know, he's been doing better than what we were doing in 2021. And we led the season for 3 rounds, I think. So, yeah, we'll see what we can do. I mean, as I said, it's not ideal, but yeah, we'll push on from here.
and slow speed incident really, so hopefully there's not going to be any damage on the car.
Yeah, looks like he tagged the wall a little bit, but car should be fine. Definitely repairable. So yeah, no big issue. Just put a couple of new pieces on it, and like I said, the United Autosports boys and girls are absolutely mega, so I'm sure the car will be perfect for the race.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good info from the Victorian there, Scott Andrews. And a very warm welcome, by the way, to Steph Wentworth, our brand new pit lane reporter. She's going to be certainly having a busy first day at work because it's relentless action around Barcelona.
Hoping that's air guitar from...
is this like a silent disco at Murphy Prototype?
I'm not sure. I'm hoping it's air guitar, because if not, there's something very unfortunate going on in pit lane there. But that, I should mention, another of our returning teams, and boy, is that a team that's been away for a while. Murphy Prototypes are back. And the bad news for everybody is Greg Murphy's still with them.
Oh, what?
Dear me. So if you remember that team, we've not really got a good chance to see the car yet. It's identical to the livery that they used to run in LMP2. The team, of course, that brought the talents of Brendan Hartley to full focus for sports car racing. And I don't know what he's done since then. Not a lot.
I've lost track, actually.
Really.
Yeah,
but the Kiwi. There it is. Thank you very much to our team. And
fabulous.
That's kind of pearlescent green, white with the orangey red trim. So Greg Murphy and co. That is, by the way, an ex-Nielsen Racing Duquesne. And it's been presented fabulously by the Irish flagged team operating out of the UK at the moment. And great to see them back.
So Orica 03s for Murphy Prototypes
03,
in the early
03R.
2010s, 03Rs. Were they all the open cockpit cars?
They were. Now, the other thing to mention, by the way, is they also have quite the record with operating a vast array of different LMP3 cars down through the years.
Okay.
So had Ligier briefly on loan. Also were the only team in Europe to operate the RV Riley AR03, and also operated a Ginetta. So I think the only thing with now the Duquesne, which was previously the Norma, that they've not raced ever is the Odesse in the LMP3. So they must be the team that's operated more than any other. And any kind of comments as to why that's all to do with the fact that Greg Murphy is in some way, impatient or, unforgiving of performance, I think would be completely unfair and unwarranted.
Perish the thought.
Absolutely.
What's he been up to in the years that he doesn't appear to have been in ACO rules racing then? Still clearly the business has been going at some, in some existence.
Well, he comes to this, by the way, after having made a return to motorsport in the most unusual of ways, having fielded a team in e-scooter racing.
Wow. Okay.
Which, by the way, that championship at that time run by another man we've actually seen in this paddock before now. Piers Maserati was involved in that as I think he was the event manager for the e-scooter championship. But Greg, coming back here, I'm sure we'll find time to spend a bit more time with him and find out, whether or not there's things we can repeat on polite broadcasts about what he's been up to. I'm sure it's not been prison time. I'm sure it's not.
Let's hope not, eh? But if it has, welcome back to the outside and to motor racing.
I think he was most insulted, by the way, when I saw the car and told him that I thought the livery showed a stunning lack of imagination.
Yeah, I'm sure that went down very, very well.
This, by the way, this is a livery we have seen before, but not in this championship. Into Europol for the first time fielding cars in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. We've seen them, obviously, as a stalwart effort in the European Le Mans Series, but not in the Le Mans Cup. And they're here with three cars. Yes. 3 cars.
Easy to mistake it's only 2 because there's a very different colour scheme for number 14.
Yep.
Which is the Ben Stone and Santiago Serrano.
No, it's the other
it's
one.
not. It's the one underneath. Andres Latour.
Yes.
And Daniel Ali.
So Andres Latour with his coffee brand.
It's very fine print.
It is. And the other thing about this squad is with Sasha Fassbender and the LMS team, very busy indeed, of course. New team manager for this effort, and it's a new team manager, but a very familiar face that you and I both recognise and like greatly, and that is Martin Hipper, who is a multiple, never quite made it to be the champion. He'll hate me for that. And if we do get a chance to see Martin, who is just a fabulous guy, German engineer by trade, and which is why he's a great pick for this. He's been operating the Intereuropol efforts in the Ultimate Cup, which is another level below this, if you like, in the pecking order. But Martin, tragically has had some kind of experiment with facial hair, and I think it's gone horribly wrong.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Someone give that boy a razor.
Green flag, we're back to on-track action.
Yes, Martin Hipper, serial nearly man, and isn't going to get a chance to win the Michelin Le Mans Cup title, at least this year, but interesting movement into effectively team management therefore, and looking after a very busy area of the paddock for the it's not just a bakery into Europol competition from Poland, although strong links to Germany where the cars live.
Yep, the racing bakers, and look at this stream of Nismo powered excellence. The endurance racing bargain, LMP3, and the drivers, the teams that have made their way into an international sports car future through this formula since 2015, quite amazing.
Now, Jerry Kraut won't be, as mentioned, allowed into this session, but he will still hold on to the 140.3 that he posted
No, he
prior.
won't.
Is that
No,
deleted as well?
Because he caused a red flag.
I didn't know whether all times were deleted.
I
That's
believe
done
so.
on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see.
But there clearly
if
was
the grid
damage
is-
to the
when-
record of that car as well.
Yeah. When the grid's issued later on, we'll find out exactly where he's due to start. My point was going to be, of course, when you're 25th and everybody else is allowed back into the session, you will possibly fall down the order anyway. And yeah, be expecting to see the 22 car starting at the rear, as long as they can repair that damaged rear right.
Hearing from paddock sources, by the way, that the air guitar from Murphy Prototypes, that was some kind of take that number in a Mickey taking tribute to not Mark Owen.
Okay. Well, do 360 and Murphy know one another necessarily? They do now.
They do now. Well, we've had
48's in the session, by the way. It took a while for Adrian Watt to appear.
It did.
In the Duquesne, one of 4 M30s in the entry. And James Swetnam will continue on. 5 minutes and 54 seconds, remember. We've already had 2 minutes of those. Yep. There's not a moment to lose if you're looking to try and improve. And remember, tyres, they don't necessarily like going through the cycles of being heated up into the operating window. Now they've cooled back again, so you're going to have to work with them. Again, with no tyre warmers across ACO rules racing for this season.
Yeah, everybody's gone back out aside, of course, from Jerry Kraut, and that's an unfortunate effort from him today. I'm sure we'll hear from him later as to what went wrong. But they're all out there going to have at least another crack at this. We'll wait to see whether or not we start to see blue and trouble for the Murphy Prototypes car. That car's gone around.
So this was the outlap for the 48 car of not Matthias Luton, that's
Adrian Watt.
Adrian Watt. So Luton is the MV2S racing car in 5th place that we're also keeping a close eye on.
And the bad news is that car is not at the moment moving. What happened here
stick,
is all by himself, I'm afraid. Car clattered over the curbs as well. Let's hope there's no damage there. Adrian is the car owner here, and that is not in a great place either. So
it's a horrible place to be.
Can't reverse back out of there.
Sitting on the apex of turn 8, and there's a danger that maybe the front of the car's become beached over that sausage curve.
He can't go forward because he'll go in the gravel. He can't reverse backwards because that's where the cars are going, and it's distinctly possible. It is indeed a red flag. I thought that's exactly what we might see there.
Yeah, so Adrian
might
out
be
of the session as well. You know. 2 minutes 26, that is shorter than a lap time, but bear in mind we were sitting around for 10, maybe 15 minutes for the session to restart.
Now he does.
Reverse.
Now he can reverse.
Well,
so
that for me was the sensible thing to do, because if he'd started to reverse with cars piling through effectively a blind entry into turn 7, that would have been highly dangerous.
I think he did that as well as he possibly could. Having made the original error, I think he did it absolutely spot on. So well done, sir, from me.
Yeah.
Quite whether or not race control see it the same, well, you can take my word to them, and that will mean absolutely nothing whatsoever.
That's just a really awkward place to come to a rest, and you're kind of then under the instruction of marshals, waiting for the red flag, waiting for the gap in the traffic. There's a lot of cars, well, as they should do under a red flag, returning to the pit lane for more instruction. 2 minutes 26 seconds. You can get round here when you're really pushing in 1:36, 1:37, but the outlap's going to take you more like a couple of minutes. It's possible to get some cars on an outlap and to start a quick one, but my worry is this is going to have an impact into an already busy schedule here on Saturday.
It is. The clock has stopped. The problem here is, more than anything, heat in the tyres. I'm not sure we're going to see the whole grid go back out this time. I think there was time to get out there, get some heat back into the Michelin rubber and have a final crack. Now it's going to be one lap and go, and I'm not sure, depending on the delay here, whether or not we're going to have any chance of seeing any improvements whatsoever. But let's a bit of hashtag wait and see. Possible, of course, certainly for some of the teams that might not have had a great start to the session to launch themselves a little bit up the order. But it's again risk versus reward, isn't it?
Any car causing a red flag in a qualifying session may have all his lap times deleted from that qualifying session, except under exceptional circumstances at the steward's discretion.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing for Adrian Watt in the Murphy Prototypes car is that car did not have any time anyway, so without a doubt it will be starting on the back row of prototypes, and the back row of the whole grid probably when you include GT3s. Still 2 minutes and 26 seconds though shown on the clock, so this could be resuming on a short call. On the other hand, well, there's already some celebration down at Graf Racing. See the ultimate car from the ELMS Championship in the background, because ELMS occupying the garages here. The Le Mans Cup runners have to, therefore, in a satellite type way, occupy the working space immediately in front of the garages. But James Swetnam's done the hard work here and sits there with a 0.2 of a second buffer zone back to Julien Gerby and the rest. Team Virage currently second fastest, M Racing third quickest with Hugo Delacour in 68.
Tribute there to the fabulous helmet hair of James Swetnam, and that could well be another first time as we go green flag running green again. Could be another first time pole position sitter in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and showed impressive application there. Trouble here for is that the Team Tort car can't get moving, and I think finally does. Was that trouble, or was that it looked like the door might not have been quite closed? That's cost the cars behind him just a few seconds, valuable seconds at that. So even more pressure. Car 48 not allowed to rejoin the session. That's not a surprise, bringing out the red flag. So
well, there are plenty of takers, it has to be said. There's no guarantee.
Well, it's still track time, I think.
Yeah,
as well.
But there's no guarantee you're going to get round in time, particularly if you're joining now, these last few cars, because there is less than a lap time now on the clock.
There's one other thing to bear in mind here, which is these are all the bronze drivers. We have got this new rule about bringing in the tyres from cold. It's still valuable experience. It's still valuable experience of finding what grip you've got with the state of tyre you've got on it at that moment. And who's to say we don't get some kind of interruption or caution in the race this afternoon. So this is still valuable track experience, whether or not, and we're going to see in about a minute or so's time, there is any kind of pace left in these cars with the tyres in their states, having been brought up to temperature, back down again, try to get it back up and back down again. Again, the rise and fall of a ballroom dancer.
We're going to be slightly late starting the second Ligier European Series race of the day. That was due for a 1:30 start, but it shouldn't eat into the timetable that much. No. James Swetnam not rejoining the session, nor the number 2 CD Sport car for Fabien Michal. And we're not going to see the Rinaldi racing car of Steve Parrow, number 66, either. But everybody else wanting to at least use the track whilst it remains live. Julien Gerby currently occupying second fastest, but needing to find 0.2 of a second. So the Team Tour car that had that slight hiccup, probably door related, joined the session and is now on to, one quick lap, and a few more will be as well, which will be the first car though to effectively miss out on the opportunity. 3, 2, 1, and that's the checkered flag. So car 27 got the checkered flag as it crossed the line. 27 is the entry from 24/7 Motorsport, and for Andrew Ferguson. So unfortunately Andrew just misses out on a chance to improve, but there are a number of other cars, probably 15 of them or so, that have got into that first sector legally, and the 77 Team Tour car currently where in the order? Midfield, 7th place, yes, you're right, yep. For Auden Gudmundsson.
Don't think it's going to be an improvement, unfortunately, for any of these cars. Don't think there's quite enough time to get the heat to the tyres. I would be delighted if I'm absolutely wrong. It's not a bad first sector for Auden Gudmundsson, though.
And actually, as the tyres improve through the course of the lap. That should get better, but you're right that you will have to work those tyres hard on a single out lap.
It's the second sector where they really need the heat in the tyres here, though. It's where they really need to carry the speed through the medium high speed corners, and don't think it's going to be quite there. He comes through and will take the flag. Just looking here, there is one improvement. John Melson, by the way.
Yeah.
Nielsen Racing did improve with an improved second sector time. It's not a significant position from Melson, but he will still start the race 19th in LMP3. Do wonder, by the way, Johnny, whether or not this might, with the interruption here, see the times of the GT cars in among some of the slower P3 cars. That could make life interesting.
True, yeah, and there is no reordering when the grid is issued later today. So if we've got GT3 cars quicker than LMP3s, that is how they will line up. And we've seen that a number of times at Le Mans in particular as well. And GT3 cars able to make pretty early progress on the quick stuff down the Mulsanne straight there. So
that is it
is James Swetnam who will take pole position in the opening LMP3 qualifying session of the Michelin Le Mans Cup for 2023. All the hard graft done by Graf Racing pretty early on in the session. Well, there was a really nice dice between Team Virage's Julien Gerby, Hugo Delacour for M Racing, Tony Wells for Nielsen as well, and Matthias Luton for MV2S Racing. But it's the old sages down at Graf Racing. James Swetnam running on the UAE licence with his experience mainly from the UK racing there. Here's confirmation of the qualifying results then. 136.962 that James is absolutely ecstatic about. 0.2 of a second, 0.214 to be exact, back to Julien Gerby, second fastest. M Racing, the 68 car of Hugo Delacour, third. Then Nielsen Racing and Tony Wells. MV2S Racing's Matthias Luton, fifth, ahead of Shahan Sarkissian for CD Sport, the Spanish outfit. Alden Gudmundsson did rejoin the session with those couple of minutes still to go, but didn't improve for Team Tour. Seventh place for the number 77, ahead of Adrian Schiller for Kuhl, Oscar Bitar for Team Virage, and Alexander Bukantsov for the DKR Engineering Squad, four-time winners in this championship previously.
And indeed, we have got a couple of the LMP3 cars in amongst the GTs. James Swetnam, by the way, Asia Le Mans Series earlier this season with CD Sport, but prior to that, one of a number of great kind of hatcheries for prototype racing talent, the Radical series in the Gulf and in the UK and around Europe. The French equivalent of that, the Funyo Cup, also often providing us with a rich vein of talent looking to make their way onto the international scene. But good to see another debutante pole sitter. And we're going to be about to go down, and you'll get not only a first chance to hear, but also to see our fabulous new colleague, Steph Wentworth. She is down with the pole sitting team at Graf Racing on pit lane right now. Over to you, Steph.
I'm here with a driver of car 39 Graf Racing, Luca Allen. Luca, James did a great job to put the car on pole for you guys. Is that a great start for the race, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. It's the best start to the season we could possibly ask for. We've been working very hard on setup just for for yesterday and Tuesday on the test day. And to see our hard work come to fruition with a pole position it's amazing. So obviously we still got a job to do later, which is win the race. And then we'll try to carry it on for the rest of the season, but I'm over the moon.
And there are a lot of LMP3 cars on this grid right now. Do you think it's going to be a big challenge competing with all of those cars?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cars out there. There's a lot of good drivers out there, but we're good drivers too, and there's no reason why we can't win. So yeah, thank you so much to the team Graf for trusting us and giving us this car, and my engineer Alex, and then James, our driver coach Tom. We've put a lot of hard work into getting this setup right, and hopefully it's good for the race, and we'll be on the top step.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
There you go. It is UK-Irish combo. Johnny goes to pole position.
Luca Allen, having raced for the last few years in Japan, but F4 experience previously, and now will accompany his teammate from pole position. Great first action from Michelin Le Mans Cup. We have the race live later on. We're on air at 5:10 Central European Summertime. We'll see you for that.